Hello guys, how are we doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, I bring to you a full guide on how to improve your aim, accuracy, and generally win your gunfights more frequently than not. We're going to be covering things such as settings, centering, pre-aiming, crack aiming, a perfect bot lobby to set you up and warm you up into going into rank play, and all sorts of other things. So make sure you guys stay to the very end of the video to make sure you don't miss out on any of the tips I have for you. Before we get into it, however, there's a couple of things I wanted to mention. First things off, I start with just a general thanks actually to the support for the channel. We absolutely smashed 2,000 subs, which is absolutely enormous. I can't believe I've actually got to 2K subs already. It's mad. But yeah, a huge thank you for that. And the second thing is, I sort of made a new sort of Twitter account, so make sure you drop a follow to that if you guys fancy it. Generally speaking, I'm going to be posting things like video ideas and surveys and post your clips and things like that. So it might be a good little and it's a way for you to reach out to me as well. Show me your clips and gas yourself up a little bit. But without further ado, let's crack on with the tips. Now, first things first is going to be a very important one considering the time to kill, and it is centering. So the next couple of tips I have for you do depend on you knowing where the enemy is sort of going to be spawning or where they are going to be, and it generally helps you read the enemy and win the gunfight before you know they're there. So centering is basically in reference to the middle of your screen, the red dot, the white dot in the middle, which is essentially where your gun is going to aim in when you pull your left trigger. You want that to be in a place where enemies are potentially going to be. I see a lot of people running around looking at the ground like so, which means that when an enemy ends up popping up, they've got to adjust their aim and look up and then shoot, which obviously does lead to losing gunfights. Instead, if you feel like someone's going to be around the corner, make sure you're already there so that by the time you pull the left trigger, you're already aimed in on them, like so. And the same goes here. If you know someone's around the corner, you think you're not sure if someone's around the corner, you want to make sure that your centering is around the corner, like so, so that you can just beam as soon as they pop around. The second thing, which sort of relates to that, is pre-aiming. So there's one thing better than centering around corners. It's pre-aiming around corners. Even if you're not sure if anyone's there, it takes you a millisecond to aim in. Well, not a millisecond, not quite. But it takes you just a really small amount of time to aim in, and it's always worth doing so, because at the end of the day, if someone's there, great, you're already aimed in, you get a kill. If they're not, hey, you wasted half a second perhaps aiming in. It's not the end of the world. You're going to see, if you guys have watched my videos a lot, you're going to see I do pre-aim everything pretty much, especially as an AI, you need to do it, especially with the really fast times to kill we've got in Modern Warfare 2. So generally speaking, once you got used to it, your centering should be sort of relatively high, and so that by the time you aim in, by the time you pre-aim, you don't really have to make too many adjustments, and you can win your gunfights. The next thing I want to bring up is moving whilst pre-aiming. I did cover this in my movements video because obviously it's sort of a movement tip, but you will not get aim assist if you are not moving your left stick. So say for example, if I can find an enemy here, right, so here's an enemy come around the corner. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pre-aim this corner, and I'm not going to move my left stick. And what you will see is that my aim did not stick onto him. However, if we do it to this, and I move, and that's a bad example. Let's do the same thing here. I'm holding this angle, and I'm moving my left stick. Watch where my aim goes. It sort of follows them slightly. And that's the same as when you're lying down or whether you're not. The general tip, in summary, is that when you're pre-aiming a corner, move your left stick. It can be the slightest movement, just like moving it in circles, moving it back and forth. This even applies if you're lying down. Just hold it one way, hold it forward, do what you can. At the end of the day, if you're pre-aiming an angle and you're not moving your left stick, you will not get aim assist, and you will probably lose the gunfight because kids are cracked on rank play. The next thing I do want to mention is aiming center body. So if you guys are new to COD and you really want to improve your aim, you don't think your aim's very good at all, obviously you do not want to be aiming for the head, you do not want to be aiming for the upper torso and neck, because chances are there's smaller targets to hit and you're going to miss your shots, especially if you're not quite comfortable controlling recoil yet. Instead, what I would suggest is shooting the sort of center mass, which is like middle of the body, like so, and getting warmed up like that. Once you're more comfortable shooting in the body and you know you can hit your shots, I would suggest aiming a little bit higher. So generally you want to be aiming for, like, I don't think you ever really want to be aiming for the head, because it can be a little bit unpredictable with recoil sometimes, and there's like all sorts of stones on the map that can send you skywards. you sort of want to aim for the neck, or like the really upper torso. Obviously, if the only thing shown is the head, you want to aim for the head. At the end of the day, you want to be aiming for the upper torso / neck once you've managed to master the general target acquisition, let's say. What next thing I do want to cover is just how to get warmed up. So generally speaking, this is what I do. If I'm an AR, I jump on my card, I fill it with bots, set maybe 10 minutes before every time I'm on, and just shoot bots like so, working on aim. If you're not sure, if you want to practice any of the tips I give you in here today, this is what I suggest doing. If you're a sub and you want to warm up your sub shots, I'd recommend going on to shipment. It's a little bit more fast paced, you get a little bit more engagements in the practice, and you're challenging people at the sort of the range you will be playing, and challenging people when you actually play rank play. With regards to classes and settings and everything like that, I'd just recommend putting the radar on. Classes replicate exactly what you use in rank play. I see a lot of people put extra health on, and what that's good at, maintaining a target. You sort of want to really get used to the time to kill, and at the end of the day, you want to be efficient with your bullets. Once you've mastered your aim and your acquisition, what I would tend to do is that, say for example, you miss shots, just reacquire the target. Don't finish a kill unless you've hit all the shots. So you see me there, I missed a couple of shots, I reacquired the aim and tried again. That will give your muscle memory a good workout, and at the end of the day, you'll learn not to miss the first bullet. So yeah, work on hitting your first bullet, and once you've mastered that, you want to be working on when to stop shooting. So at the end of the day, when you're playing rank play, if you want to get really sweaty, you want to be putting the minimal amount of bullets out for the kills you're getting. So get used to the time to kill, and it will just make you more efficient. You're able to switch between new gunfights more quickly and fluidly. Like so. So, next tip I'm going to give you is shorter sprays. So this sort of goes hand in hand with the next tip I sort of have for you. The recoil pattern on most guns starts really good and then eventually gets worse, because it doesn't reward spraying, it does the opposite. So it does punish sprays. So for example here, this is without me controlling recoil. You'll see that the recoil is fairly vertical up until the end, which is where it turns a little bit horizontal. Now, if you're having a gunfight and you get to this stage and it goes wayward like that, you're probably losing that gunfight. It's going to be a little bit unpredictable and you're not quite sure what's doing. So let's say you miss a couple of shots, stop shooting. Stop shooting, retake your aim, and then shoot again, because the shots are going to be easy to read. You're going to be used to the recoil because it's fairly vertical. And yeah, your chances of winning a gunfight are a lot more. This sort of goes hand in hand with crack aiming or stutter aiming, and that's basically when you're sort of coming in and out of the aim like this. What this does is sort of resets the aiming stability. So you'll notice if you ADS, and let's take a long range, let's kill this guy first. Let's say I want to aim for that window there, or the blue thing at the top. There's a lot of gun sway here, and aiming in and out sort of reacquires that aim a little bit closer to what it would be, and doing so over and over again basically means that you reduce the amount of gun sway you have, and therefore your first shot is going to be a little bit more impeccable than it would be otherwise. Obviously there's nothing wrong with it, nothing wrong with just ADSing, but you will have to fix up your aim stability in the process. And the other it's not, the benefit of what I've just explained isn't huge, so I sort of get why people don't do it, but the next benefit is absolutely massive. So say for example, I was watching 2 points here and I was doing this. I'm not sure those 2 points. It's a lot of work. I mean, I'm struggling to do it now just because of muscle memory. How's he not dead? It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. Whereas if you're crack aiming, you can acquire new targets really quickly because you're coming out of the ADS. So yeah, that's another benefit. You can basically change targets really quickly like that and micro adjust. So say for example, if your initial center is not quite right, if you crack aiming, you're able to flick on exactly where they are with ease. Okay. The next thing I want to cover is basically use the meta classes. So I see a lot of people use absolutely trolly classes in rank play, and at the end of the day, they're trolly because they're not good. People are using the meta classes for a reason. They shoot straight and they're the perfect balance between mobility and maintaining some sort of recoil control and aim stability. I would suggest, if you're struggling with your aim, maybe put on a, so for example, this class is quite a fast ADS class here for my tac. If I was struggling with this, I'd probably swap out the TVX Line Pro because this has negative recoil control in the cons. Maybe replace it with the Cardinal stock because that doesn't have that detriment. And from there, I'm probably going to increase my aim. But generally speaking, you don't want to adjust the classes from the meta too much because otherwise you are going to end up with a really stiff class that doesn't really aim in really quick, and you end up losing gun bites because you're not fast enough around the map. So yeah, I know it's a very general tip, but use meta classes. There's plenty out there. Check out my class video if you guys want, but there's plenty on YouTube. Try them all out. Jump in a bot lobby like this and see what one suits you best. At the end of the day, it's different for everyone. It's personal preference. So no class is going to be the best for everyone at the end of the day. What works for you will be different from what works for me and vice versa. The next thing I want to cover is left stick adjustments. Now, I know these tips are a bit everywhere and there's not really some sort of order, but I am going to leave a contents down below, so hopefully you guys can just go back and forth as you please. But essentially speaking, when you're aiming in, you're using your right stick to aim, and your left stick is walking. So say, for example, that window is an enemy, and let's say when I initially aim in, I aim in here, I could either acquire my aim by going like that, and moving my left stick from left to right, or I could actually move left to right. So I would say that moving the right stick is good for the major adjustments, but when you really want to make those fine adjustments at long range, move your left stick left and right to make those small adjustments. Yeah, rather than trying to do this. If someone's at long distance, move your left stick and you can acquire your target in a little bit more of a accurate manner, let's say. Finally, we're going to go through the settings that I feel are important to increase your chance of winning gunfights and up your accuracy at the end of the day. So I'm going to get into a nice quiet place where the bots aren't going to find me, because otherwise all you're going to hear is shooting. I mean, they'll probably hunt me down anyway. But generally speaking, obviously I'm on controller. You want a sensitivity that isn't too high. So I'd recommend a sensitivity anywhere between 4 and 7. Anything away from that is either too slow or a little bit too quick. But if you feel like it's a little bit too quick, you can always go into advanced settings, and in your aim sensitivity per zoom, you can adjust your aim like so. So 7.7 is quite high, but I've made it 0.75 so that when I ADS it's really locked in, and I can make my fine adjustments like so. So that's something worth considering. But you don't want it too high. So for example, I wouldn't have a 10-10 because at the end of the day your centering still needs to be on point, so you do need a lower sensitivity for that, even when you're not ADSing. The next thing I want to cover is aim assist type. So either have Black Ops or Default. Precision and focusing are really poor unless you're sniping. Default and Black Ops are the go-to. I've been switching between them, not really noticing much difference. Black Ops used to be the meta, then apparently got patched. So really, you want to be using Black Ops or Default. Other than that, you're probably pretty... you're not going to help yourself at the end of the day. And the next thing is dynamic aim response curve type. It basically means that when you crank your stick further to the right, it does it quickly, whereas you're still able to make those micro adjustments. And at the end of the day, everyone's using it. It is better. So if you're not, you just need to at the end of the day. The next thing I want to mention is input dead zone. So this is basically how much do you need to move your sticks for them to actually work in game. So the lower means the more responsive, and the higher means the less responsive. So essentially for your dead zones, you want it to be as low as possible before you get stick drift. At the end of the day, if you have it too low, you're probably going to get stick drift. And if you have it too high, then your aim response is going to be really slow. So I'd probably start at 0.05 and then work from there. If you feel like you do get stick drift, which is basically where you put your controller down and your character moves. So for example, if I did have stick drift, it'd probably look something like this. My aim would be slowly moving. But yeah. The next thing I wanted to cover is actually a weird one. People don't seem to think this affects accuracy, but it actually really does. It plays a huge factor, and that is FOV. So I would recommend FOV-wise, nothing more than 104. Now, if you're an AR, probably on the lower end, you want to play probably on about 90 or something like that, 90 to 100. If you're playing as, so I mean, it's personal preference at the end of the day, but you don't really want it any higher than 104 or 105 for multiplayer because you lose aim assist. You don't get as much aim assist and you're not going to be as accurate. And you don't really want it much lower than 90 because at the end of the day, you want to see more on your screen, which is the whole reason for FOV in the first place. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. You've done these settings, you've got a couple of other tips here, there and everywhere. But if there's anything else you want me to cover specifically in a video, or you just got a question, I'm very responsive in my comments, or at least I try to be. I don't know, some videos pop off and I just can't keep up, but I do try to keep up in the comments. So make sure you guys leave a question down below if there's anything you want me to specifically talk about. But yeah, without further ado, that's going to be it. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.